Hey, what's going on, people? It's your boy KelechIwuaba back with another episode and another update to my investing portfolio. But that's not the only thing that we're going to be doing on this video today. We're going to be discussing how to go about picking stocks in the stock market and how to go about selecting the right stocks for you, because there's a lot of information out there, there's a lot of stuff out there. It's hard to get your head around it sometimes, so I'm gonna be helping y'all out just like I had to learn these things and helping you decide some of those stocks. But before we get into any of that stuff, I would put a cat's picture on the screen as one of my boys, Anthony McLemore, does on his video, but that's his thing, not my thing, so I'm not gonna be doing that. But anyway, let's just go into the portfolio real quick. As you can see in the portfolio, not a whole lot has changed. I've still been investing a lot into tech segment and into the financial segment because the financial segment right now is getting beat down. So those are the two segments that I've been looking at, or two segments of the economy that I've been looking at investing more money into. Not a whole lot has changed when we look at my Robinhood portfolio. Last week we talked about investing in ETFs, which is what my Robinhood portfolio is mostly focused on, is mainly ETFs. The M1 Finance, I just love the way that M1 breaks down your portfolio and breaks down each individual investments that you have in your portfolio. And that's what we're going to be talking about on this video, is each of those individual investments that I have in that portfolio, how I went about selecting those stocks that I have in my portfolio, and why I selected some of those stocks. But anyway, for the portfolio itself, the goal is by the end of this year, since we're about the midpoint of this year, the goal is that by the end of this year, I should have about $5,000 put into this portfolio in one shape, form, or another. So that means between my M1 Finance portfolio and my Robinhood portfolio, there should be at least $5,000 in there, and probably more, because my money should make me some kind of money as it is sitting in the market. But anyway, let's get into the main topic for today, which is selecting the right stocks. Stock selection. That's going to be the focus of today. And the way I'm going to go through this is basically, I did a more in-depth episode of this on my podcast. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I have a podcast that I do every Tuesday and Thursday. It's called the Rambling Mind Podcast, where we talk about personal finance, we talk about investments, and we talk about the business news, some of the things that's going on around the world that affects you in different ways that you may not know about. We also touch a little bit on politics from time to time, because politics and business intersect a lot of the time. So if you're interested in it, the link is down in the description. And while you're down there in the description, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. If this is your first time on the channel, it will be very, very greatly appreciated. And leave a comment down below. How do you go about picking stocks? But anyway, let's get right into the video for today. When you talk about picking stocks, there are two parts that you have to think about. There are two segments to picking stocks, and this is something that a lot of investors refer to as something called fundamentals. They always say, what are the fundamentals of a business? What are the fundamentals of the stock? What are the fundamentals of the market? And this is what we're going to be breaking down today. One of the goals that we try to do on this channel is to make you smarter as you're going about your days, to make you stand out when you go to your friends. You can impress them by using the things that you learn on this channel. So when we talk about fundamentals, it breaks down into two parts. The first part is called the qualitative analysis. Now, this is a big word, but we're going to break it down. We're going to simplify it and make it a lot more simple for you to understand. The second part is the quantitative analysis. Again, another big word, and both of those words look like they're the same thing, but they're very different. And I will explain what each of those things are. Now, when we talk about the qualitative analysis, basically all you need to know about that is basically it is the secret sauce. It is the thing that makes that business special. It is the Mamba mentality of that business. R.I.P. Kobe. But it is the magical touch that that business has that makes it stand out. Think of the Krusty Krab in SpongeBob. The thing that made the Krusty Krab special was the Krusty Krab burger, and the thing that made that burger special was the secret sauce. That's basically the idea when you're looking at businesses. That's what the qualitative analysis is, looking at what is it that makes this business special, and we'll go more into depth in that. And on the other side, the quantitative, just think about it, quantify. Quantitative is the hard details. It's the dollars and cents of that business. It's the financials that back up that that business, is the things behind the business, is the factual information that should support that qualitative analysis that you're doing. And we'll talk about that in another video. In this video, however, we're going to be talking about that Mamba mentality. We're going to be talking about that qualitative analysis. We're going to be focusing mainly on that aspect in this video. And when you're talking about the qualitative analysis, there are 3 questions that you got to ask when you start looking at any business, because when you buy a stock, you're buying a share and an ownership in that business. And the first question you got to ask yourself is, do I understand this business? We'll talk about that more in a second. The second thing you got to ask yourself is, does this business have a competitive advantage? I'll explain what that means here in a minute. And then on the third one is, what is the management team like for this business? So diving into the first question, understanding the business. What do I mean by understanding the business? Warren Buffett has a quote where he says, basically, is this business in your circle of competency? In other words, is this business something that you understand? Is it something that you use on a regular basis? Is it a product that you buy on a regular basis? Is it something you interface with because you work with it all the time? These are the questions that you got to ask yourself when you start looking at businesses. An example of this for me is Microsoft. I'm a tech head. So technology things I know too much about. In all honesty, I know way too much about it because I consume news about technology a lot of the time. I consume information about technology a lot of the time. So I understand the technology segment very well, which is why in my portfolio I invest in Microsoft, because I know way too much about Microsoft. And the question you got to ask when you're looking at understanding the business is, do you know how this business makes money? For example, using my baby Microsoft, because you all know I love Microsoft a little bit too much. I like investing in Microsoft. I don't think Microsoft is one of those companies that I will forever invest in unless something changes with their basics of business. But I will forever be investing in Microsoft. But anyway, do you understand how they make their money? So for Microsoft, I know that they make money through their gaming division, through Xbox and the services that they provide there. I know that they make money through their hardware division, with the Surface products that they make. They make money through software with Windows OS, through what you're watching this video, how I'm putting this video together, which is Microsoft PowerPoint, all the Microsoft Office products that they give out. And then I also know that they make money through cloud services. So these are the questions that you got to ask yourself and say, hey, how exactly does this business make money? You got to know how it makes its money and how it's bringing its money in, so that you understand it. And it's even better if the ways that they make money is very simplified, is very easy to understand. It makes you going through the process of understanding the business a lot easier. The second thing is something called the competitive advantage. You got to ask yourself, what is the competitive advantage of this business that I'm looking at? Again, I'm going to use another Warren Buffett quote. He talks about an economic moat. He talks about a business moat. Now, in the old days, what a moat was you had in the medieval times, they will build up kingdoms and castles. And in order to protect the castle, what they would do is usually they'll build and dig a trench around the castle. I'm gonna put some pictures up. You guys will see it. They dig a trench around the castle, fill it up with water, and within that water, they'll put all kinds of dangerous animals. Sometimes they'll put spikes in that water. Sometimes they'll poison the water. They'll do all kinds of stuff around that castle to ensure that when an enemy comes to attack them, first of all, everybody from the country that is in that kingdom can run into the castle, and then the enemies cannot come into the castle unless they come through the one way that can go in and out of that castle, which is through that drawbridge that they have. And basically that's the same thing when you look at businesses. A way for you guys to think about this is, I don't know if y'all have seen Avatar: The Last Airbender. It's on Netflix. Really good show. You need to go check it out. There is a kingdom in that show called Omashu. Now, Omashu is the kingdom that Aang's friend Bumi is king over. And basically, the kingdom is built on a mountain. Everything else around it is just air. There's nothing else around it. And that is the perfect picture to have in your mind of what a moat is. And it's the same thing with businesses. Basically, the question you got to ask is, how easy is it for other competitors to enter into this market? How easy it is it like YouTube where anybody can pick up a phone and start making a YouTube video? The entry level for YouTube is very simple. It doesn't have a great moat in that sense. Like, even me making this video, like, there's not a divisive factor of people making content for YouTube. But like, think about a company like Microsoft. Microsoft has a very big moat. Think about this. Microsoft has a 77% market share of all desktop operating systems. In other words, 3 out of 4 people that pull out a laptop is probably going to be running Microsoft on that laptop. It's probably going to be running Windows on that computer. That's what a competitive advantage is. And it's not so easy to build an OS operating system. Google has been trying to steal a market share from Microsoft for years. They only have about 2% market share. Apple, which is the other largest operating system out there, only has 26% market share. So think about that. That is the defensive position that Microsoft has established with their Windows operating system. In case y'all didn't know, Microsoft is also on ATMs. That's what operates ATMs. And when I found this out, I was like, makes sense, it's Microsoft. But like, think about that. That's how much Microsoft is used in so many different industries. That's how much Microsoft is used in so many different areas. So that's a competitive advantage. However, moving on to the third part, a competitive advantage can be a good thing, but it can also be a bad thing. And we're going to talk about that when we go into management team. So the other thing you want to ask is, what is this management team that I'm about to put money in and put my faith in about? How good are they about looking at the future? Does this management team have a vision for this company? And there's a quote that I would like to share with y'all that I really love when it comes to this idea. It's basically a quote by a guy named John Maynard Keynes. I mean, he was an economist and he did all kinds of good stuff. But his quote was, "The difficulty lies not in new ideas, but in escaping from the old ones." And that's the thing when you start thinking about a moat. A moat is wonderful because it keeps other people from coming in, but however, it's also bad because it keeps you from going out. And what I mean by that is it keeps businesses from exploring. That's how in the old days, what they would do to a lot of kingdoms is, okay, you guys want to hide behind your great walls, you guys want to hide in your moats, it's fine. All we will do is starve you to death. So you have no food coming into the kingdom anymore. You have no clean water. You have people dying of all kinds of diseases. Why? Because they couldn't go out just as much as people couldn't come in. It's the same thing with a business. A good business, think about this. A great business can be killed by bad management. A great business can be killed by bad management. If the management team do not have vision, that business will fail. That business will not be able to succeed. I mean, a perfect example is, think about Blockbuster. Blockbuster was one of those businesses that you saw everywhere. It has stores everywhere. Any single corner you could look at, Blockbuster had a store. What happened? It's simple. They didn't move on with the times. They were stuck to their old ways. They were stuck to their moat. And their moat was late fees. So much so that Blockbuster actually had a subscription service and an on-demand service for you to be able to borrow movies at any point in time, but they refused to release it. Why? Because they were attached to that moat. They refused to try and explore new options because of that moat that they were attached to. So it's very important that you listen to the leadership. You listen to the words that are coming out of their ears. You listen to them when they're on earnings calls. You listen to them when you see them in interviews. What are the words that they are saying? What are the things that they are standing by? It's very, very important, because even a great business that you want to invest your money in can be thrown away. So yeah, those are the 3 questions that you got to ask yourself when it comes to investing your money and choosing where you want to invest your money. And when you think about it, it becomes like a circle. By you understanding the business, you will know what gives a company its competitive advantage. By you knowing what gives the company a competitive advantage, you then know, okay, how are how is the management team thinking ahead of just that competitive advantage that they have? But in order for you to know how to understand that management team, you need to understand the business. You need to understand the industry. Then you can know if the company is doing the right moves or making the right moves or saying the right things or not. This is how you go about looking at a qualitative analysis. This is how you go about looking at a business that you invest your dollars, your hard-earned dollars into. But anyway, I hope y'all learned something in this entire video. I hope y'all learned one, maybe two things out of this entire thing. If you enjoyed it, please give me a like down in the description. Not in the description, just give me a like down there and let me know, what did you think? What do you think about using this method to go about determining businesses that you want to invest in? But anyway, it's been your boy Kelechi, and remember, generosity is always greater than greed. Generosity is always greater than greed. God bless each and every single one of y'all, and I'm out. Peace.